Today we're going to talk about a controversial topic called Wobbly Hedgehog Syndrome. First off, I want to acknowledge my friend Antigone at Hedgehog Valley. I printed these articles off of her website and we're going to include them in the link. Antigone and I have known each other for well over 20 years, and she has been a mentor and a friend and a good person to bounce science stuff off of. We've had very similar experiences in our hedgehog endeavors over the years and have very similar thoughts and theories and observations on wobbly hedgehog syndrome. So first off, the first thing is, what is wobbly hedgehog syndrome? Wobbly hedgehog syndrome is a progressive neurological disease. It's got a big long word we're going to post on the screen for you to see. I can't pronounce it, so I'm not even going to attempt it, but it is a very technical term for a progressive neurological disorder. So that leads me to the first point. Wobbly hedgehog syndrome is a progressive disorder that occurs over time. It generally starts in the hind legs. So one of the most common emails that we get in regards to wobbly hedgehog syndrome is I'll receive an email that says, I think my hedgehog has wobbly hedgehog syndrome, what should I do? And my first question is, how long have the symptoms been going on? And more often than not, it has come on very quickly. And that tells me, first off, that it is generally not wobbly hedgehog syndrome. And the typical cause is the hedgehog is too cold. Because hedgehogs may wobble or stumble or be shaky for a lot of different reasons, hedgehogs often get misdiagnosed. So first off, it's a progressive disorder. So if your hedgehog has a sudden symptom of wobbling or stumbling or dragging a leg or paralysis, let's not look directly toward wobbly hedgehog syndrome, but let's explore some of the other things that may mimic similar symptoms. So wobbling, in my book, is a symptom, not necessarily a definite disease. So for example, if I'm throwing up in the morning, there could be a whole bunch of different reasons why I'm throwing up. Throwing up might be a symptom of worst case scenario stomach cancer. More milder, I could just have the flu, or I could have a mild case of food poisoning. So we don't want to jump to the worst case scenario. We want to start with something simple and see what we can do. So first off, make sure you evaluate your hedgehog's temperature and make sure that your hedgehog is at least 75 or warmer and that their temperature hasn't dropped overnight. So let's talk about diagnosing wobbly hedgehog syndrome. When your hedgehog is experiencing some wobbling or shaking, the first step is to eliminate temperature as a possible cause, and then a vet visit is necessary. A veterinarian cannot definitively diagnose wobbly hedgehog syndrome by looking at or examining your hedgehog. Wobbly hedgehog syndrome is defined by a change in the neurological structure of the spinal cord and nerves. So that can only be done in necropsy. But what we can do is eliminate other diseases or other problems that may have similar signs or symptoms. So if your veterinarian tells you that your hedgehog has wobbly hedgehog syndrome, please understand that it is a best guess. It might be likely, but we need to first eliminate everything that is not wobbly hedgehog syndrome. There are several other things besides false hibernation that can cause symptoms similar to wobbly hedgehog syndrome. Again, I'm referring to a couple articles that I have pulled from Hedgehog Valley and Antigone. Thank you, Antigone, for this great article. She's done a lot of research, and we've collaborated and had lots of discussions on wobbly hedgehog syndrome together. So number one, temperature. Number two would be illness or falling. So your veterinarian may need to do an x-ray to look for injuries caused from climbing and falling, or a drop, or something that might, even just an accident, that humans have accidents that can cause injuries. Something else that might show up on an x-ray is spinal degeneration. This can occur from a variety of reasons, age being number one. Also, keep in mind human athletes that run and play sports and are hard on their joints, they're also going to show joint wear and tear. So some normal spine wear and tear from those wheelaholic hedgehogs might show up in an x-ray that could be causing symptoms similar to wobbly hedgehog syndrome. Or a tumor could also cause signs and symptoms similar to wobbly hedgehog syndrome. Some of those things can be treated with steroids or sometimes even antibiotics. Bacterial infections, fungal infections can also cause irritations or inflammations in the spine. Nutritional deficiencies may also mimic wobbly hedgehog syndrome symptoms. For example, one customer contacted me after her veterinarian told her that he thought that her hedgehog had wobbly hedgehog syndrome, and she described the symptoms, and her hedgehog wasn't eating. And so I said, whoa, not eating isn't a sign of wobbly hedgehog syndrome. Typically, hedgehogs that have wobbly hedgehog syndrome continue to eat quite well. So we decided to investigate her hedgehog's mouth, and her hedgehog wasn't eating properly because it had several abscess teeth. So after the teeth were taken care of and some antibiotics were given, she started crumbling the food, and her hedgehog lived another 2 years after her hedgehog was misdiagnosed with a wobbly hedgehog syndrome diagnosis. So not eating can cause symptoms of dehydration and malnutrition. A calcium deficiency can also cause problems that might mimic it. There are several other nutritional problems that are more rare but can occur. So make sure that your hedgehog's diet is thoroughly evaluated as to make sure that a nutritional problem isn't mimicking wobbly hedgehog syndrome. Another issue in hedgehogs that can mimic symptoms of wobbly hedgehog syndrome is a stroke. Again, true wobbly hedgehog syndrome is a progressive neurological development. A stroke is very sudden. So your hedgehog may have wobbling and may have paralysis on one or both sides. It may be front to back. But a stroke, just like in people, can cause issues with mobility that can be misdiagnosed as wobbly hedgehog syndrome. And now I'm going to hit the really, really hot button topic of what causes wobbly hedgehog syndrome. The truth be told, no one really knows. There's a lot of speculation that it has genetic links. And I'm not confirming or denying it, but what I can say is that more often than not, every necropsy that I have viewed up until this point, and someone may be able to point me wrong, but there is always something that is equally fatal going on in the necropsy. For example, a kidney disease, a progressive kidney disease, or a severe bacterial infection, or a cancer, or any number, a nutritional deficiency, any number of things. So my observation has been that when a hedgehog's immune system is weakened, that's when the neurological problems start to persist and come about. So no one really knows. There is a lot of older information, older articles that are still being speculated. Breeders definitely do watch their pedigrees, do track animals that are presented with a positive necropsy for wobbly hedgehog syndrome. So it is a good idea to track those things, and we certainly watch those things in our herds, but no one can really say for sure what causes wobbly hedgehog syndrome. And just like in people, there are viruses that can be very similar to wobbly hedgehog syndrome that are just opportunistic, that happen when a hedgehog's immune system is weakened. So unfortunately, there is no definite cause of wobbly hedgehog syndrome, and there is no definite diagnosis of wobbly hedgehog syndrome until an animal has passed away and a necropsy is presented. If you do suspect that your hedgehog has wobbly hedgehog syndrome and you've cared for your hedgehog to its end times, and you do want to have a definitive diagnosis, we'll post a link for how to send in your hedgehog for a necropsy. It does need to be done in a special way. However, I have worked with Oregon State and have found that their prices are very reasonable, and I was very pleased with the necropsies that we've had done there.